Monday morning. Welcome to First Mover, your first global look at today's action in the Bitcoin, blockchain, and digital asset space. I'm your host, Christine Lee. And joining me is my co-host, CoinDesk Managing Editor of Global Capital Markets, Lawrence Lewitinn. Lawrence, how you doing?
Okay, by the way, I can barely hear you, but I can only make out just you saying, how are you doing? And I'm guessing that's the question. So the answer is yes, I'm okay.
Things are getting loud here at the SALT conference. We're live all week long. CoinDesk is here talking to the top movers and shakers in the crypto industry, and it's going to be an exciting event. Quickly, let's take a check on Bitcoin. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index is currently trading at $44,613. Bitcoin is down for the start of the week about 3% over the past 24 hours, and the CoinDesk Ether price ETX index is currently trading at 32.09. ETH is down almost 7%, and taking a look at the new DFX, CoinDesk's DeFi index is now at $560. DeFi is also taking a hit, almost 7% over the past 24 hours. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as leader in crypto news, events, and data. So just quickly, Lawrence, taking a look at markets, we're seeing a bit of a pullback. What's going on?
Yeah, we are seeing a bit of a pullback. I think one thing that the markets, of course, are waiting for tomorrow, the inflation numbers. We're going to see whether or not it'll give us a sense of whether or not the Fed is going to accelerate its taper, which could mean fewer dollars in the supply, depending on how high the inflation rate is. So that's what some things that people who think that it's connected to macroeconomic issues are focused on. But those of us who are more in the camp that, hey, Bitcoin is more idiosyncratic and there's very specific things going on in the markets that affect Bitcoin specifically, are of the belief that there's a problem going on right now. So we'll keep an eye on that.
All right, we'll be definitely keeping an eye on price movements all week long. And again, CoinDesk is at the SALT conference live in New York City at the Javits Center. We have exciting conversations lined up all week long, and I'm really excited about our first guest. What better way to kick things off than with the founder of the SALT conference and Skybridge Capital? We've got Anthony Scaramucci. Anthony, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Incredible. I was just walking along the conference floor. I'm seeing Solana. I'm seeing Coinbase Institutional. We're next door to Gemini. They're our partners. Hey, the Gemini. This is the first time I've seen so many crypto companies at what I would call a mainstream conference.
Well, I would like to think of Skybridge as one of the more mainstream institutions that moved into the crypto space. We have probably, counting our Ethereum position, Bitcoin position, something like $700 million in crypto assets now. This morning, we announced a Algorand fund. And so we're going to cap it at $250 million. We're working with Jeff Schumacher from the New Asset Exchange to help build protocols and digital applications related to Algorand. So before too long, we'll have 3 reasonably well-known cryptocurrencies in our stable of more traditional assets. So we've got ETFs, we've got hedge fund assets, we've got core long-only assets, and of course now we have crypto.
And this is the first time I would say that perhaps many people on Wall Street would be introduced to things like Algorand, a lot of altcoins in the crypto space. What's the feedback you're getting from these more traditional type folks?
Well, I think it's still early for them. I think the really good news for the people that are watching your program is that it's so early, and that if you're an investor now, stay long term. You're going to still go up the adoption curve. There's going to be volatility as a result of that. But I love the fact that we've got very large-scale investors here. There's 3,000 people registered. There's probably over 2,000 capital allocators in the room. I was going through the list of speakers, probably 18 billionaires here. Some of them are not invested in crypto yet, but I predict after an event like this, and a lot of these one-on-one meetings that they're doing with the likes of Sam Bankman-Fried and the Gemini guys or the Solana guys, you'll see a lot more investing and a lot more awareness. And this is what I would say, when very smart institutional investors do the homework, they end up getting exposure. And so that's one of the reasons why we brought so much crypto-like educational programming here.
I would love to hear your sales pitch on, when introducing crypto to these more traditional type folks, on why they should be entering the digital asset space.
So mine is a philosophical one. I sort of tie it back to Mark Andreessen, who said if you really understand the blockchain, it is a bigger protocol than the Webscape browser, the Netscape browser back in 1995. And what Mark has said to people is, if you just think about it for a second, that decentralized protocol, we can trust each other without a third party. And we can start moving assets, goods and services, and there will be 5 or 6 leaders in terms of their protocols, likely things like Ethereum, Bitcoin, Algorand, Solana, that will be the leaders of that new system that's building. And so once you can explain that to people and you can break it down in that way, they're like, okay, I need to have some exposure to this. The same way people in the mid-90s, frankly, needed exposure to the web. Some of the stuff on the web didn't work, frankly. We remember eToys and Pets.com and things like that. But also you have Google and Amazon. And eventually the second iteration through social media like Facebook and
well, that's what I'm saying.
Like
someone along the way explained to Warren Buffett, maybe move away from the Coca-Cola. You can still drink it as much as you like, but Apple's pretty cool as well. And so,
right.
so maybe you're one of the bridges.
Well, I'm hoping
for Wall
that.
Street in that regard.
And I heard Mr. Buffett speak right after. There was a guy by the name of Jeff Bezos. You've heard of the guy? Okay,
May have heard about him.
He spoke in 2000 at the Sun Valley Allen and Company conference, and he was laying out his long-term game plan. He was explaining the properties of Metcalfe's law, how he's going to create this global retail network. Mr. Buffett spoke right after him and said, listen, that's all fun and games, but he's not making any money, and he's losing money through this expansion, and I have no interest in investing in him. If you had put $10,000 in Mr. Bezos' IPO, Amazon's IPO on May 15th, 1997, it's worth $21,140,000 today. So just want you to understand that these things can happen. You have exponential growth opportunities in several of these currencies because they are expanding. If something like Bitcoin, we're measuring it right now, our Skybridge research team, probably 180 million wallets globally based on our measurement. If Kathy Wood is correct, we'll have 1 billion plus users by the end of 2025. 1 billion plus users in something that's got a fixed 21 million tokens. And you and I know, Christine, that many of these tokens were lost in the early inception of Bitcoin. There's probably 18 or 19 million tokens. You get 1 billion users, that price is going a lot higher. And so for me, when I start to explain it to people, and I think you know this, I just wrote a book, The Sweet Life, How I Learned to Stop Worrying About Cryptocurrencies and Start Loving Them, and you can too. It's a short little book. You can find it on Amazon. It's actually displayed out here at the conference.
Limitless energy, writing books.
But the thing is, I want to explain it to people. So we put a 100-page digest together talking about Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper, what it means.
I did want to go over, I know Skybridge has about 500 million.
About 700 now due to price appreciation.
Okay, so we have an update on that.
Yeah.
Before we had also talked about a DeFi fund potentially in the works, an ETH fund.
Yes, so we launched an Ethereum fund July 1st. We're launching an Algorand fund October 1st. Our Bitcoin fund, which started on, I think, December 23rd of last year.
And an NFT platform.
We have an NFT platform we're launching today. You could go to Flatter NFT. Now, I picked the name, so hopefully you guys like it. Okay, why Flatter? Well, a lot of these are tokens, they're gifts for people, so you're flattering people with the gift, but also we're trying to create a flatter society, in terms of the democratization of ownership. And so it's flatternft.com. We're auctioning off 2 different things. The first one is a ticket to next year's SALT conference and a commemorative whiskey bottle with art that was commissioned by the Flatter team. And then the second thing I think is a little bit more value is a lifetime membership to what I call the SALT ecosystem. So that's all our conferences globally.
Everyone and their mother is going to NFTs, and Anthony's on top of it.
All of our VIP, yeah. So it's flatternft.com, and you can buy it through Stripe. So you can use fiat currency or a whole host of different currencies to buy these NFTs.
Just one last question.
Sure.
When you were last on, you had a prediction of about 100,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year. Any update to that prediction?
So I still think that happens. I know that Bitcoin's been sort of in this trading range, 45 to 55,000. but track the news. I would suggest to people, track the news, the wallet expansion, and all of the different things that are happening related to the system. JP Morgan's coming on board. Morgan Stanley already announced one. Wells Fargo just announced one. And slowly but surely, there'll be more and more people in the system, a result of which is going to push up the price. And remember, it's early, so you're going to get a lot of volatility swings, but I still think we hit 100,000 by year end.
Actually, I want to touch on one more other thing. You also said it's quite possible that Bitcoin could become the currency of the world. And I meant the reserve currency in the world.
Yeah.
And as we see El Salvador making Bitcoin legal tender, Ukraine is talking about making Bitcoin legal tender. What are your thoughts as that transition comes along? And mind you, though, there are the critics. I mean, there were huge protests in El Salvador. There were technical glitches. We saw a price crash. But we're seeing the early steps of something.
Well, listen, we're very early. You and I both know that. There's about 2% world saturation right now. But I just want you to think about a currency that can't be manipulated, a currency that can't be influenced by policymakers or politicians. That's what this technology is providing. And so what ends up happening to people, whether they like it or not, if your government is printing money, and our government printed about $500 trillion this year, increased the money supply 37% over the last 18 months. And so when you're doing that, you're actually taking from people. That's a form of taxation. Your $10,000 in your bank account last year is worth $9,200 today in terms of its purchasing power. And as that confidence starts to erode, you'll see things like Bitcoin or other assets become very attractive to people. And certainly in countries like El Salvador, other Latin American countries, when they look at the cost-benefit analysis of adopting a Bitcoin, it becomes more and more compelling. And of course, Algorand is the backbone for a lot of the health services and governmental services of El Salvador now.
All right, we got to wrap it there. But Anthony,
good
congratulations on this incredible
We're all fully
conference.
vaxxed, by the way.
We're in person. We're in New
Vax
York.
attack.
Vax attack. All right. Up next, the crypto markets update, as well as a discussion with Osprey Funds on the latest price analysis. Anthony Scaramucci, everyone.
Good to be here.
Now for the daily forecast, an update on what's happening in the Asia crypto markets. Here's Angie Lau of Forecast News.
Welcome to the Daily Forecast, September 13th, 2021. I'm Angie Lau, Editor-in-Chief of Forecast News, covering all things blockchain. So we've been talking about this for a while. China's digital currency project has been developing rapidly. But now, the Deputy Governor of the People's Bank of China says there are some problems that still need to be resolved. In a speech, Fan Yifei singled out regulatory rules and payment systems as areas requiring further attention. So that's got our attention. We'll talk about that and more coming up. Let's get you up to speed from Asia to the world. First up, speaking at the China Digital Finance Forum, the PBOC's deputy governor laid out plans for tackling development of the country's digital currency. Issues to be ironed out include supporting connections between the ECNY and traditional payment systems and developing regulatory rules that differ from those already in place for physical currency by breaking what should be broken and restraining what should be restrained. Forecast News' Timmy Shen has more on what that means for plans going forward.
While the speech did not mention any physical glitches or problems with the ECNY, it makes clear the system should be secure and user-friendly. Richard Turin, a fintech consultant who recently published Cashless, China's Digital Currency Revolution, told Forecast News The issues include setting boundaries for various types of payment. For high-value transactions that banks currently undertake using the country's RTGS or high-value payment system, it will mean specific endpoint requirements for security. While for everyday users, one of the biggest issues will be the limit placed on value-based transfers. These are smaller payments such as those made via phone-to-phone transfers without a network, or those which many would see as being most cash-like and therefore vital to rural users. Turin also says it's clear the PBOC does not want to disrupt existing payment platforms like Alipay and WeChat Pay, instead developing sub-wallets to allow seamless ECNY use. For Forecast News, I'm Timmy Shan, Taipei, Taiwan.
Meanwhile, could we be seeing the first rumblings of a backlash against NFTs in China? An opinion piece in the state-owned newspaper, The Securities Times, could be just that, as its headline states blind hype has biased the value of NFTs. The article criticized NFTs as a massive hype, giving Justin Sun's NFT purchase of an avatar for over $10 million and the $69 million paid for Beeple's Everydays as examples of the NFT market being a huge bubble. The article went on to suggest that in future, more real case scenarios for NFTs should be focused on, like using them to record the sale of real assets, such as cars or real estate. Such articles could be a worry as well for China's tech giants, who have fully embraced the NFT phenomenon. We're going to be keeping close watch on what happens next in this hugely popular market in China. And finally today, interest in Solana has been off the scale of late, but with a run on second-tier coins, what might the next big altcoin be? Forecast News' Lachlan Keller takes a look.
Last week was quite the week for cryptocurrencies, with a price pullback after El Salvador's adoption of Bitcoin, the launch of Cardano's long-awaited Alonzo upgrade, and a Solana on a tear. But with the dust settling, most of the crypto markets started the Asian trading week on a downward trend. Solana is staked a claim as a significant contender to Ethereum in the NFT ecosystem. But should both now be looking over their shoulders towards the new kids on the block? With tokens like Polkadot, Cosmos, and Avalanche among those bucking the trend, gaining around 15% in the 24 hours to Monday morning Asia time, it seems investors are looking towards the next coin to see its breakout moment. One expert told Forecast News while market psychology is driving many investors to look for coins with large multipliers between their market cap and that of Ethereum, looking across various protocols is a wise move.
It's not betting everything on the one horse, as in the case of Solana, because as the crypto market teaches us time and time again, take profits because there is never ever going to be a perpetual trending line upwards. So.
And Stefan Roost, CEO and founder of HydrogenX, told us all of these contenders benefit from being Ethereum virtual machine compliant. But with more global economies getting into tokenomics, eventually all of these blockchains will suffer from getting blocked up. For Forecast News, I'm Lachlan Keller.
And that's the daily forecast from our vantage point right here in Asia. Visit forecast.news. I'm Editor-in-Chief Angie Lau. Until the next time.
The Crypto Markets Update is presented by Grayscale, the world's largest digital currency asset manager. Wildly successful. Jeez.
Can't hear him. Cannot hear him.
Sorry about that, everyone. We'll go. So, cryptocurrency Solana has just about quadrupled in the past month, and our next guest is hoping to get a tiny piece of any further upside. Joining us now is Greg King, CEO of Osprey Funds, which has just launched the Osprey Solana Trust. Welcome back, Greg.
Thanks, Lawrence. Good morning.
Great to have you on again. So first, before we get into Solana, let's talk first about what's going on in the majors with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Obviously, we saw this big pullback over the past few days, and it seemed to have been kicked off minutes or hours before Brian Armstrong's tweets about the SEC. Do you think that there's anything going on behind the scenes there, where somebody might have known about something going on and sold out their position before all that stuff became public?
No, I wouldn't go as far as to say that. I mean, there's obviously stuff going on behind the scenes there. It coincided with the El Salvador news. My initial reaction was it was one of these, buy the rumor, sell the news type of events. I'm not reading too much into it. Obviously, crypto's volatile, Bitcoin's volatile, and it's still up significantly over the last 3 months or 12 months, however you look at it. But yeah, I don't think that the dynamics between the SEC and Coinbase are great, and lots of folks are focused on that. I would say, though, that if anything, that should impact other coins more so than Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is one of the few that have been determined to be commodities by the powers that be. So some of these questions around some of the others are perhaps more impactful on coins other than Bitcoin.
So what caused the recent sell-off, though, in the past few days? We're now down to around 44,000. We were much higher earlier, much higher, of course, relatively speaking. But, we've seen this pullback. What in the past few days has caused it?
I think it's just a little bit of churning. I can't point to anything specific. You heard, one of the previous guests, Scaramucci, was bullish up to 100,000 going into year end. We have a similar view that we're still in a major uptrend. The SALT conference is happening right now. A lot of institutions are figuring out how to get access. Excuse me. So they are slowly plodding forward. And I think that those numbers on a fixed base of tokens just imply future upside.
Looking at Ethereum, we've seen a bit of a pullback there as well after a nice run up ahead of the hard fork. Do you think that some of the excitement about the so-called Ethereum killers might have caused at least some rotation out of ETH and into, let's say, Solana, for instance?
Yeah. There, I do think that's correct. Obviously, you have a battle in these, non-Bitcoin layer one protocols for supremacy. That's just early. I mean, I don't know. Are we at the sort of bottom of the first inning or something like that? It's really just getting started. And obviously, Solana's had a big run the last several weeks and is very much topical. It seems like everywhere we turn, people are talking about Solana. So we're excited about our new Solana fund, the Osprey Solana fund we just launched a few days ago. Another one, Algorand, has been in the news quite a bit. And you see that Skybridge is launching a fund. We launched ours a couple months ago. And so there is a little bit of a battle here. And I think some of these, what people call altcoins, are, taking a little bit of market share away from ETH.
You guys have a very quick turnaround on some of these things. How does that happen? How are you guys able to get the likes of a Solana fund so quickly out to market?
Well, it may look quick. It's actually not. We've just been working on it for a while. So, it takes us several months to kind of piece things together behind the scenes. But we had determined to launch a Solana fund, several months back. Met with the team back in June, the founding team of Solana, and have really been working on it all summer. It just happened to coincide with this big run up. Actually, wish it hadn't, obviously, so our initial investors could experience the run up. But we think there's a lot more to go.
What else is in your pipeline? Do you have any other coins that you're looking at launching a fund for?
We do. Our approach right now is to curate the layer one protocols and bring the best of what we think has a promising future out to market, so investors can get access via a fund. A lot of investors aren't comfortable going in and setting up wallets and trading these themselves. So $10,000 is the minimum, and folks can apply on our website and get funded within a day or two, and have these funds it was settling into their IRAs and brokerage accounts, depending on their custodian. So that's what we're doing. You'll see more of that, and you'll be the first to know, Lawrence, as soon as we have a new one to launch.
Thank you. And one question I have is you filed an amendment recently to your Bitcoin ETF application. What exactly was it, and why did you do it?
Well, we became the Osprey Bitcoin Trust became an SEC reporting company, which means that investors don't have to hold for 1 year. They can only hold for 6 months. So without going into all the details around how these private placements work, typically there's a 1-year holding period by statute that's required. But if you voluntarily report to the SEC, which takes a while to kind of organize and put together, you can shorten that period to 6 months. So we're now in that situation with the Bitcoin fund and intend to pursue that with all of our funds over time.
Well, again, congratulations on the Osprey Solana fund. Best of luck with that. Thank you, Greg King of Osprey Funds.
Thanks, Lawrence.
And coming up next, Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, and we'll be talking talking NFTs with Christie's head of digital art and online sales, Noah Davis.
Welcome back. Time now to check in with CoinDesk Managing Editor of Global Policy and Regulation, Nick Day, who is also the editor of CoinDesk The State of Crypto newsletter. Hey there, Nick. Good to see you as always. All right, so Gary Gensler, he has, he's got CoinDesk Uniswap on his crosshairs, and he has a Senate event appearance happening tomorrow. What can you tell us about that?
Hey, good morning. Yes, the Senate Banking Committee is holding its oversight hearing of the SEC tomorrow, and Gary Gensler will be testifying. He's the only SEC commissioner who will be testifying, at least as of the right now. There aren't any hearing documents or prepared testimony publicly available yet, or at least there wasn't as of a few minutes ago. But we can definitely expect a lot of focus on fintech issues, including crypto, but I imagine things like, Robinhood's payment for order flow, which Gary Gensler has been, very publicly discussing in recent weeks. Stablecoins might come up. We have a couple of crypto-friendly senators and crypto-skeptical senators on this committee, so they may be asking questions about these investigations that you mentioned and, what the purpose is, what the investigations have, dug up so far, and what the SEC specifically might be looking for.
And of course, we have tomorrow. We're going to have our inflation numbers. Is there any sense at all as to what's going to happen there? Do we really think that they're going to start accelerating the taper a little bit early if they see a high print on that?
I haven't seen anything on that so far, and honestly, given how weird this year has been, could go either way, but the Fed seems to be pretty well committed to, kind of winding down a little bit. So I think we'll have to wait and see.
All right, cool, Nick. A lot of things to monitor all week long. Thanks for joining us on the show. That was CoinDesk Managing Editor of Global Policy and Regulation, Nick Day, who is also the editor of CoinDesk The State of Crypto newsletter, which you can sign up for on CoinDesk.com.
The CoinDesk Spotlight is brought to you by Nexo, the place to earn on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more.
All right, so the greatest performing asset in the crypto space by far and away are NFTs. Non-fungible tokens are up 5,900% year to date, according to investment management firm Arca, which is remarkable. And arguably, our next guest helped launch this year's hype cycle. He saw the potential of NFTs early on. He spearheaded Beeple's auction, the most expensive NFT ever sold, for $69 million. Joining us now is Christie's head of digital art and online sales, Noah Davis. Welcome to the show, Noah. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so I'm really excited about Christie's initiatives, which you have been leading. And just first off the bat, I would love to know how you initially got it over the hump at this 254-year-old auction house to accept electronic payments. How did you do that? What was the reception like? And take it away.
I mean, so I think that the reason we were able to do what we did with Beeple was thanks to a lot of important pieces of context, but probably most important was the fact it was the end of the pandemic, or the first round of the pandemic. And we had gotten used to taking risks and doing things a little bit differently, just by nature of having to in order to survive as a business. So I put together, for example, my first sale ever in absentia without being in the building at Christie's. We sold a ton of art without being there. So selling art that doesn't exist as that next step was actually kind of simple. I let the business know that we had an opportunity to accept cryptocurrency payments, which I knew a lot of people at the executive level.
And they're okay with that now.
Yeah, they were. No, that was actually what helped get it across the finish line. That was an incentive. It was not a scary thing. It was an exciting thing.
But I mean, there's a lot of technical hurdles to that. I mean, how do you custody your crypto, accepting the payments, and managing all of that?
Yeah, so it was a challenge for sure, and I'm really so lucky to have an amazing support team behind me at Christie's who are adapting and innovating alongside this whole NFT revolution. But finance and credit and compliance and all these people have been really instrumental in helping us move forward with all this.
Okay, so and they must be totally 100% behind your back because of, I mean, your first auction was just a blowout with this explosive Beeple sale.
That definitely helped. Yeah, I think that talking about incentives when you have a result like that really lights a fire into people.
And so now are they just giving you free reign to manage your project now? And like
no,
what does that look like?
I am definitely on a leash.
Okay.
And I should be, to clarify, I absolutely should be. But my expertise is really just in the salesmanship. I'm an art guy. I come from an art background. I'm really looking forward to creating a drum roll for all of the things that we have coming up. That's my job.
Would you say now, though, they are 100% into NFTs right now and supporting you? And so what does that look like going forward at Christie's?
Well, going forward, I mean, I've abandoned all hope trying to consult my crystal ball. I don't think that's really a smart thing to do in crypto or NFTs. But I think going forward, we're looking towards being more unassailably on-chain. We're right now very much off-chain in the way we conduct our auctions. A lot of things are not automated, they're manual when they could be and should be automated. And that's my goal, is to bring us into a future where our NFT sales are wholly on-chain.
And do you know what chain?
Well, I don't know. But I mean, if I were a betting man, I'd bet Ethereum. I just like Ethereum.
All right. And okay, so now in terms of curating your NFTs and what's on offer, walk me through that process, because we had Beeple, you had Fuocious, you have an upcoming one with an Asian artist, Sean Yue.
Sean Yu is a collector.
Okay.
We're
his
selling
NFT collection
and apes and me-bits from Sean's collection. Okay. And then we jump right back into New York and we sell curio cards and art blocks curated as part of our October 1st sale. Actually, I'm really, really excited about that one because there's a lot of groundbreaking firsts with those offerings. So the October 1st sale is a live auction in New York with the auctioneer, and COVID willing, we will have an audience in attendance. There will be people on the phone bidding. But what's different about all this, not only are we selling NFTs in the context of a live contemporary art auction, but we will conduct the bidding on those lots in Ethereum. The estimates will strictly be in Ethereum, the bidding will be in Ethereum, and it's historic because this is also the first art project on the Ethereum blockchain. That's curio cards.
Right.
So all of this is part of this design.
And in terms of the demographics, you're introducing this new clientele potentially to Christie's. I wonder what that looks like. Are they new? Are they used to these new clienteles? Is Christie's open to it?
So this is definitely a completely new audience. The stats speak for themselves. For Beeple, we had more than 40 bidders place bids, with 20 bidders above $1 million. And of those 40 plus people, only 3 were previously known to Christie's. So otherwise, completely new demographic, skews younger, more tech savvy, but is very, very global. None of this is surprising. But we are also seeing members of the old world, the old traditional art collecting world, stepping in and downloading MetaMask and buying Ethereum. Wow. And okay. I've been on the other end of these phone calls helping them to do this. And it's really incredible. I mean, I think that we've seen probably more movement from the crypto space, the NFT collecting space, into the fine art collecting space, which is really interesting. Justin Sun famously bought some lots from our London evening sale just after underbidding Beeple. But we are also seeing now a lot of private collectors from the old world hiring people to help with their NFT endeavors, with their NFT collecting endeavors, and they haven't yet entered. But I do think that as we move into this second cycle of NFTs at auction, we will see more of that.
It's a whole new sector of crypto. I love the amalgamation of art, music that is entering the space, and thank you for really leading that. He's the seer of all NFTs. All right, Noah Davis, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Up next, that was Christie's head of digital art and online sales, Noah Davis. Time to check in with crypto Twitter. Let's take our tweet of the day. MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor tweeting, MicroStrategy has purchased an additional 5,050 Bitcoins for $242.9 million in cash, an average price of $48,099 per Bitcoin. And so who's buying the dip? We've got Michael Saylor, whoever the Bitcoin bull, continuing on that march. All right, that's it for First Mover. Thank you, Lawrence Lewitinn, Managing Editor of Global Capital Markets. I'm your host, Christine Lee. As I mentioned, CoinDesk will be live at the SALT conference all week long. We've got tons of great conversations lined up, so be sure to check it out. Coming up at noon is The Hash, and I'll be back live for All About Bitcoin at 3 p.m. You're watching CoinDesk TV.